It's an awful lot to ask. It's Jeter. And that's blocked at the line of scrimmage. And the Huskies are celebrating the biggest upset in their school's history.
This is At Face Value.
What's up, everybody? Here we go again, At Face Value, episode 10. We're in the double digits, dude. That's crazy.
Dude, I didn't even know that.
Like, yeah, that's
I didn't
wild,
realize.
man.
Number
Yeah.
10. I'm still kind of lost in the sauce from last week. I'm just now coming back to earth, so I'm here for good this time today.
Hey, that's what they say, man. It's a 12 steps of acceptance. What is it? Like,
I guess.
Yeah, man, but it's all good. So we appreciate everybody coming back for another week. Everything's been great. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate all the feedback. We got a lot of people that have been submitting their picks, just submitting feedback, just telling us, what they think about the show and everything. So it's really been great. So we appreciate, everybody just sending us whatever. And we ask you just continue to do that. Just continue to spread the love, share, like, comment, share. The ratings and the likes, like those are the biggest thing. I mean, those are what kind of, get us more attention and stuff. And, we have a lot more social media platforms. We have an Instagram now. We have a TikTok. We're trying to we'll do little snippets here and there of just, little things. Like I know Lucas, he went on a little bit of a rant last week about the scheduling of football games. And so we put that on our social media, just different ways to get us out there. So anytime you see stuff like that, just like I said, just share it out there and just help spread it around. So, I mean, we're having a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. And it's been great. And now, we're full on in football season and everything else, man. So
It's here.
yeah, it's here,
Man, and it's here because you go into Sam's Club, you go into freaking HEB and Target and all those places, and you see all the Halloween decorations and, and all the food that's really bad for you that you just want to crush. Man, it's here. It's here. And today was a nice, cool, crisp morning, man. It was gorgeous today. So let's have more of those.
Yeah, man. I grabbed my coffee this morning, and my son wanted to go outside and play, and I was like, heck yeah. So like, I just grabbed me a chair. I was just sitting on the back. He's running around the backyard. I was like, man, dude, there's nothing better. So
pumpkin spice latte weather, baby.
Yeah. My mom bought me a pumpkin spice bundt cake from Nothing Bundt Cakes.
Dude, how was that?
Dude, it actually was really good.
I bet that went really good with that coffee.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's golden. So, man, I loved it. But, I mean, Nothing Bundt Cake. I don't know if you ever had it or not. But, dude.
Love it. I've never had the pumpkin spice one.
It's like their limited edition, like, new thing this year.
Oh, so. Yeah. They have, like, a raspberry white chocolate one that's pretty freaking tasty. Yeah.
Can't go wrong, dude. But yeah, man. But it's kind of I mean, I love it. Like, and there's so much going on. Like I said, the NFL started this weekend. A lot of great games that happened today. We'll get into that. NCAA, obviously, another great weekend of football. A lot of big time matchups. Some early playoff implications, and some games that really showed who certain teams really are. We'll get into that as well. And then in the MLB race, there's only 3 weeks left in the MLB regular season before we get rolling into playoffs.
Yeah,
so
that's crazy. There's
a lot of stuff going on, man. But the first thing that I figured we would get into is our NCAA. So for everybody that's been following along with us at the beginning, before college football season started, we started giving out a breakdown of every conference, and we gave our winners and we gave our dark horse as well. So we were just kind of look at that first and kind of see exactly where our teams kind of are. So I guess we can start at the top. We can start with the ACC. And I mean, the one thing I know is I picked Clemson to be my favorite. And I mean, I'm not going to back away from them yet. Obviously, I don't even remember who they played last night. They put 66 points up yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
that Klubnik dude absolutely bounced back. I think he threw for like 350 yards or something crazy, which is great.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a good sign to see because he's kind of been kind of rolling under the radar for the last few years. But they looked really good. And I mean, week one, Georgia, that's tough.
Oh, yeah,
for anybody, especially against that defense. So the ACC is wide open, I think. There's obviously a few people and teams that can win it, but it's pretty wide open, and Clemson's definitely up there still.
And your pick, Miami. I mean, Miami has looked sharp.
Yeah.
I mean,
defensively, offensively, Cam Ward's a monster, as we saw week 1. I don't know. We touched on it a little bit last week. Again, that was kind of a blur podcast for me. But yeah, Miami looked good again. They played some bums and kind of steamrolled them. But and then dark horses, SMU, man.
Yeah, I mean,
That was your dark horse.
SMU is one of those, like, they're still interesting for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know, like, and I don't know if maybe it's just the initial, like, coming into a big conference, you know, kind of shining the big lights. But I think we talked about it, but, you know, BYU is not good.
Whenever we did the breakdown for the Big 12, I said BYU is one of those teams, and the only reason I said that last week, or whenever we did that rundown, was because of how old their roster is typically.
Yeah.
Right. They have all those kids that are. I mean, you have to think about 18-year-olds versus like a 24-year-old who's fully developed. Like, it's just a different kind of playing field with that kind of, but. BYU's, again, going to win some games that they probably shouldn't, and that was probably one of them.
Yeah, I mean, and then SMU only scoring 15 points. I think that was the most surprising part for me. Like, an 18-15 loss, like that was kind of crazy because
at home too.
Yeah, and the biggest thing they've been talking about SMU is how good their offense is going to be, and so
and there's something going on with that quarterback. Like the quarterback. They keep switching in and out because I know that Stone dude was supposed to be like the guy.
I was going to say, he was like the guy coming in.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the guy. And I watched the game because I think it was on the Friday night. I actually watched a lot of it. And,
he went through 4 passes on Friday night. So.
Yeah, and they were kind of bouncing back and forth between him and another dude. And, I mean, as we know, like quarterbacks, like you have to have some consistency and some playmaking ability, and you have to – get the reps in. If you're kind of bouncing back and forth, obviously like LSU, again, that's just kind of what I know, but like the whole Jordan Jefferson, Jarrett Lee controversy in the 2011 national championship when they got steamrolled by Bama, like they were going back and forth, and neither one of them could really get into a rhythm because they were both two mediocre quarterbacks, don't get me wrong, but you got to roll with one and go, and Les Miles just was playing with it, and I feel like that's kind of what's going on with SMU too.
Well, and then even like, you know, with Texas State last week, I think we mentioned, you know, their game with Lamar, where like McLeod, like obviously big bounce back. We'll talk about that in a minute. But last week, you know, McLeod, like he came out hot, and like Texas State went up big, and then their plan all along was they were going to switch their backup in, and they put Martinez in, and he was dog water, and then like the offense just like completely lost any momentum they had. So
and I guess I kind of get it in that situation where you're playing Lamar, an FCS school, where you're favored heavily, and the W is probably already written in the stars. But just to get the backup some meaningful reps, just in case something happens. But again, somebody like BYU, like you don't want to play around with that because things like scoring 15 points and losing at home can absolutely happen. So
and there may be something more underlying that they're just not telling us, that maybe Jennings ended up having a better, you know, spring, summer, fall camp, and so he's going to kind of end up taking over from Stone. So I don't know, but
maybe.
But definitely going to be interesting with that. I mean, I don't foresee them possibly making a push at this point, but the one team I think definitely could is yours, which is Syracuse.
Yeah, man. And again, with Syracuse, obviously, at the beginning of the season, whenever we were picking this, I kind of chalked Georgia Tech as a win right away because I didn't think Georgia Tech would come out as hot as they did, winning the first 2 games and beating Florida State in that opener. But, I mean, you look down Syracuse's schedule for the next 4 weeks. I mean, you have Holy Cross, Stanford, UNLV, and NC State is going to be the next big game. And we all know what happened to NC State this week against Tennessee. They got steamrolled. And then Pitt, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Cal, UConn, and they end at Miami. So realistically, that could be a 2 undefeated team matchup with Miami at the end of the season to determine who might go to the ACC championship game.
Yeah, I would say some interesting ones I would put them over Stanford right now because Stanford's going to travel across the entire country.
And Stanford, talent-wise, I just don't think it's there.
Well, like it was weird because Stanford beat TCU, which I know TCU is not what they've been, but they look good. They scored points, and then obviously it didn't look like the same team this week. But then, NC State, I mean, you don't really know what to expect. I mean, they played okay, and then then they got thwomped this week, and then Pitt's down, Virginia Tech, like we don't know what to expect out of them anymore. I mean, Boston College, they're ranked now. They had their big win and over Florida State, but then Miami at the end. So there are some interesting games.
Yeah.
So.
And their quarterback, who is it, Kyle McCord?
Yeah.
I mean, he looked very good, especially early on. Obviously, as the game rolled on, it ended up being a closer game. But Syracuse jumped out to a big lead early. But if Kyle McCord can keep it rolling, I mean, Syracuse has a good shot to keep up with a lot of the big names.
Yeah, I mean, 380 passing and 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty sharp. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of it came in the first half, I know for sure.
Yeah.
Just because again they went up pretty big and kind of slowed it down in the second half. But I mean, Syracuse looked really, really good, and I mean, I didn't think they looked that good. I picked them mostly because of Kyle McCord and their strength of schedule, right? Their strength of schedule is kind of lined up for that to be the case. But
they did have a few key guys come in that could put them up there. And like we said, like with the way the ACC is, I mean, you never know what will happen. I mean,
and that their defensive coordinator came from A&M, and I mean,
yeah, for sure,
big winning program there.
Yeah, so
they did put it on McNeese, man. So watch out.
That was a big bounce back win in front of their 86,000 fans. So
yeah, dude.
You got that.
Man, that's a quality loss now, huh? With the Notre Dame thing.
Yeah, dude. Notre Dame. Yeah, I mean, because they're running the ACC schedule, so yeah, man, that was rough. Like I couldn't believe that,
dude. Like there's no scenario anybody had that.
Like I get like you have a letdown game after a big win, like on the road like that, but man, like
you can't do that. And we touched on it too after the game a little bit last week. Riley Leonard, that's the question mark. Like that offense just did not look good at all. I think Northern Illinois kicked 3 field goals. They only scored 1 touchdown on them, which I mean, defense did their job, but the offense Riley Leonard just kind of picked up where he left off against A&M. And so how do we really know how good A&M is now with that kind of
exactly. It puts 2 questions. It puts a question on obviously Notre Dame and then also like A&M because you never know now. But I know I had Notre Dame getting into the playoff now, and I didn't see where they dropped to, but they.
I mean, I don't see a scenario they get in unless there's multiple teams with 2 losses.
Yeah,
and they go undefeated the rest of the way. And is that offense going to allow that to happen?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, if you struggle, because I mean, really, they struggled against A&M too.
Yeah.
The run game just finally opened up in the 4th quarter.
That's exactly right.
And then Northern Illinois, they never got it going. So so that's back-to-back weeks now where you're kind of saying like, what kind of offense do we have? And I mean, Riley Leonard. I mean, I didn't think that he was overly impressive when he was at Duke. So I don't really. I know they kind of brought him in because they probably didn't have many other options. But
yeah.
I don't know. A lot of question marks with that.
Yeah. Well, with A&M, let's go ahead and talk about. Just keep it in the SEC. Talk about Texas. What a win!
Oh, Texas rolled.
Oh
man.
God,
like,
they were
from beginning to end
just dominant, just absolutely dominant on both sides of the ball. And again, there were some question marks on the Texas defense coming into the season, and I think they answered most of those questions. Again, Michigan's not a high-flying offense by any means, but to still go into Ann Arbor to the big house and do what they did is uber impressive. The only reason it was even as close as it was because of a garbage time touchdown.
Yeah, for sure.
It shouldn't have. It was the game. It could have been 60-6 if it wanted to be. They definitely took their foot off the gas in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what it kind of shows. Like, because Davis Warren ended up with 204 yards passing, but I mean, there's no way he had that. Until
80 of those had to have come on that last drive.
Yeah, because I mean, like. I know Donovan Edwards, like he would bust a run here for 8-10 yards, bust a run here, but there was never anything where you just saw and you were like, man, like Michigan could stay in this game.
And just watching the game too, you can tell that was Texas's kind of defensive game plan. Like, just don't let the big play happen. They knew they couldn't beat him through the air. Like that was kind of the thing. So they were playing the run and they were playing pretty safe.
Well, and that's what I was
not letting
say
it
too.
Bust a big play.
Is like that's Texas's. That was their big question mark coming into the season was their secondary.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you could still say like they still have not been tested in the air yet.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you play Colorado State, which, you pay them $1.4 million just to come play you.
Stupid.
And then, which I know you're going to go into that. but then you play Michigan, who they didn't have a passing game last year. You know, their defense really their defense and their run game carried into the national championship last year.
Well, dude, I thought the same thing, but then against Washington in the national championship, out of nowhere, they start diming the balls down the field. Like, it was kind of crazy.
Well, true, but I mean, if you take what the defense is going to give you,
That's a good point.
So I mean,
but going back to Texas, I want to see what they look like against like an Ole Miss offense.
Yeah,
you know,
for
like
sure.
a fast, like get to the line, snap the ball, run the play, throw the ball around the field. Ole Miss is going to be one of those teams that's going to do that.
well, I would say like even like a Georgia too. I mean, like Georgia's going to look the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're well, I just mean because like they're going to have the athletes. Like, so you're going to be it's going to be a tit for tat kind of deal where you know Carson Beck's not necessarily going to throw way down field on you, but he can also kind of dice you up if your secondary struggles like you think it might.
Yeah,
so.
that's very true. But yeah, they. I mean, Georgia dog walked somebody. It was like Kennesaw State or something.
Yeah,
that was a
like
really great game.
Texas School of the Deaf, I think.
Yeah, really great game. I'm glad they played that one. It was Tennessee Tech. It was a crazy close game. But OU actually was in a dogfight against Houston.
Yeah, man.
Against Houston, scored a total of 16 points, and really that safety at the end was like kind of is what put it away. But Houston had the ball to go win the game.
Yeah, they were right
there. And that's what's crazy. So OU not looking great against a little bit better competition. I know people were super high on Arnold at the beginning, but
well, and that's why like I know we were in that group chat, and like I really like I compared him to Garrett Gilbert because like that's exactly it was like almost the exact same scenario to where you have this good quarterback that's kind of got your offense going the right direction. Now obviously it's different because Colt McCoy graduated, whereas like OU literally told Dylan Gabriel like you're not going to play quarterback anymore.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
so they pretty much made him transfer. And then you bring Jackson Arnold in, and he has not looked impressive in either game. Like really, like last week he was mostly a running back, and then this week he had to throw the ball a little bit more. And I mean I think he had like 120 yards passing or something.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like,
and that's not a good Houston team.
Houston's been down for years or a few years now.
That's not a good look. But again, whenever we talk about the Red River rivalry, whenever that time does come, whenever teams decide to actually play other good teams during the weeks, you just never know. Like you don't know which OU is going to show up because again, there have been years where you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, Texas is going to steamroll, and they lose. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's gone both ways. I mean, Charlie
ways.
Strong's last year, Texas beat Oklahoma.
Yeah,
but people don't remember that because then they go and lose to Kansas at the end of the year.
Yeah,
so
for sure. And then your dark horse was Mizzou. I mean, I think they played some bum teams.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, like the SEC teams. I mean, they played a bunch of nobodies. So really, they all kind of rolled. And
it's 2 weeks in a row, man.
Yeah,
you just love.
Yeah,
man.
Missouri beat Buffalo 38-0. So.
Oh yeah, you just love those back-to-back trash weekends, man. It just makes it so fun to watch. And then my dark horse was Ole Miss, which I guess you can kind of call it a dark horse. They rolled Middle Tennessee State 52-3.
Snuck by.
I mean, yeah, there's really not much to get into with those.
No, I mean SEC wise, I mean the biggest two games. It was the Texas game, and then. We can kind of just roll this into the Big 12 was, Arkansas and Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Like, that was your Big 12 favorite. And, dude, Arkansas, I mean, they had that game pretty much all throughout, and then ended up Oklahoma State they kind of got back and forth at the end, ended up going to overtime, and then Oklahoma State ended up winning it. But
and I think that was kind of like we talked about. I think they sold out for the run with Ollie Gordon, and that dude did not have a good game at all.
Yeah, he had like 48 yards rushing or something. So.
It's crazy, yeah. So they definitely looked vulnerable for sure. And then the other SEC game, though, that we should probably talk a little bit about just shortly. South Carolina went into Lexington and destroyed Kentucky. Destroyed Kentucky. Which
South Carolina did not look good in week 1.
Oh, they looked awful.
I thought they were going to be bad.
Yeah.
But And Kentucky, you know, supposed to be not really like up at the top, but they're, I mean, at least be a contender.
Yeah.
And they look, yeah, I mean, they went into Lexington and rolled them. So it's kind of wild, man. But,
I mean, I guess that big win got them to College Game Day.
yeah, College Game Day, LSU coming to town now.
Guys,
So
that just shows you how bad the matchups are next week. Like it is embarrassing.
Yeah,
like
it
this
really
is
is
this is bad for the sport. These games, these matchups. Week 3 looks awful, and we'll kind of run down it a little bit. I don't want to go on another rant because I just get angry. Like because dude, like this is what makes like matchups like. I mean, the Texas-Michigan game had some of a letdown because it ended up not being very competitive. But
Right.
but dude, like you look forward to those matchups, and if you can have more of those, man, like have a big game at 11, have a big game at 2:30, have a big game at 6, have a big game at 9:30. Like we need that. Like and that's why the NCAA is so far behind the NFL in viewership is because who the heck is going to tune in to Ole Miss, Middle Tennessee State? Nobody's gonna watch that. Like nobody cares unless you're an Ole Miss fan or you're from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
and then you still have to have SEC Network. Or you're not going to see it anyway. So.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like there's so much potential, and again, it has to be going that way. Like they have to do something because there's just nothing to look forward to in week 3, and it's week 3 of this season already, and there's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just running down. Like Alabama's going to Wisconsin, LSU is at South Carolina.
Dude, that's an unranked matchup.
Yeah, like it's.
I mean, I guess LSU's ranked. They looked awful against Nichols, but
But it's all like big spreads for the most part.
yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating because there's so much potential if you just have them play good teams every week. Like, just have big matchups every week. Just bump it down to an 11 game season. That's fine with me. Just make it good every week.
Well, and like you talked about too, you know, like what I mentioned earlier about Texas paying all that money to host a team, and it's just like you're funding a college's athletic program, and all you're doing is you're asking them to go to host them back-to-back years.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of wonder I wonder how much Alabama has paid South Florida to get them on the ropes back-to-back years. I know last night the score ended up not being that close, but I mean for a while there, I mean I think South Florida was ahead for a little bit.
Dude,
so,
yeah, that scoreline is not indicative of the game at all.
I think South Florida was actually up like 16-14, or they were down 19-16. It was close at one point. And then,
dude, it's Alabama again just doesn't look very good.
No,
Or at least to Bama standards. It's not the same Bama. That's all I got to say about that.
yeah, it's not their national championship teams. That
They're there to be got. And again, I think they lose 3 games just kind of going through their schedule. They're there to be got because they do have some tough matchups coming up.
for sure.
We talked about Oklahoma State a little bit. You want to go into the Big 12? Your Utes, who you picked?
Yeah,
to win
the
it.
Utes, they played Baylor yesterday, and I think Cameron Rising went down for a little bit.
He did. He had a
and
hand
so-
injury, and that was scary because again, if Rising's out for an extended period of time, once he was out, they didn't score a single point.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it went last year too. It was, you know, the first game. Well, I guess he didn't end up playing last year, but
No.
like when he played before he got hurt 2 years ago, it was like they were a totally different team without him. And then last year, obviously him not playing at all, they were a totally different team. So,
Which I think it's going to be that's an improved Baylor team for sure. I mean, Aranda's seat is also super on fire. Like if it keeps chalking up some losses, he's going to be gone.
well, and my guess is that when they won the Big 12 3 years ago, like he just won that with Matt Rule's team. Like that's what it's starting to look more and more like.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they had a great season that year in his first year, and everybody talked about like this aggressive guy that like he never smiles, he never shows emotion, like blah 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 blah. And then but then ever since then, like they've just been on the downslope, and so I'm sure they will be a little bit better this year. I mean, like Utah had 170 yards rushing, so I mean they had a decent job on the ground. And then they only held Baylor to 220 total yards.
Yeah, I mean it's very
like the
good.
quarterback for Baylor was 9 for 21 for 115 yards. So.
Yeah, and you know you're going to get a good defensive performance against with Utah.
And I would say all things considered, if you have a great defense against like in the Big 12, like that already gives you a leg up because a lot of the Big 12 like their thing is just a lot of the teams is we're going to try to outscore you. So if you can hold them to lower amount of points and find a way to score, and I don't know what the extent of Cam Rising, so he may be back next week anyway, but I mean I still think that they're definitely up there. So. And they have Utah State, and then they play Oklahoma State the 21st. So that's going
to be.
So,
and I think we talked about kind of that rotation of the first few weeks.
Yeah.
Or I think like week.
Oh yeah,
3,
that's the gauntlet.
Yeah, week 3 through week 6, like everybody plays each other to where it's going to be kind of determining kind of what happens and who can kind of get out of there with the least amount of gunshot wounds.
For sure, man. But. And then my dark horse, Iowa State, going into Ames, or not Ames, but going into and beating Iowa.
Yeah.
That was a big win for them. So
I mean, yeah, that's a very good win against a good defensive Iowa team.
I mean, that's probably the most points they've given up. Outside of the playoff, that's probably the most points they've given up in like 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, the final score was 20-19. That tells you a lot. So
the over hit.
Yeah.
That one, the under,
35.5.
The under didn't hit on that one, but
the Big Ten unders had to come to an end eventually.
Yeah, but yeah, Iowa's a good, solid defensive team. So that's a great win on the road for Iowa State. And a rivalry game as well. So you can't ever kind of take that out of the equation either. I think my dark horse was on a bye, or had a bye this week. West Virginia. We're ready.
No, they beat Albany.
Oh, that's so a bye.
Yeah,
a bye.
They had a bye, 49-14. So
yeah, so a bye.
Which I mean, after that tough loss at Penn State, at least you tried to work on what was going wrong and try to get you back on the right track.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
But and then our last one, the Big Ten, man, Oregon. That they were my favorite to win, and I'm definitely having regrets about Oregon right now, dude. Like they snuck by the hair of their chins on a Saturday.
I mean, if they didn't have that punt return, that's kind of the swing part of the game. I mean,
like they were down, like
didn't they kick a field goal to win it?
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like they were down or like tied like almost the entire game. Like end up beating Boise State 37-34. Yeah, now Boise State's supposed to have a good team, but it's Big Ten versus Mountain West. Like, and all anybody talked about coming in, they talked about Georgia and Texas obviously were the conversation, but it was Georgia, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. Like those were the 4 teams that everybody was talking about.
Yeah.
And Oregon, I mean, like back-to-back weeks, like they've just not looked the part. They struggled against FCS Idaho last week, and then they struggled against Boise State. I mean,
inferior competition for sure.
They should have absolutely rolled definitely last week, and then even being at home last night, they definitely should have rolled there. And so,
I mean, Boise is a good team, and a lot of people have them as their kind of group of 5 team to get into the playoff, and I mean, if they would have pulled that win off, that would have been hard to kind of keep them out, especially again, it depends on what Oregon does further down the road. But
I think regardless, being number 7 at the time, still winning that game.
I mean I guess it's too early to tell, but as of a moment right now, that's a good loss.
Oh yeah,
like no loss is good. But
I was gonna say, being in the group of 5, like you want the other conferences to have losses. Like you can't have them having wins like that.
No,
like Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame. Like if you're in one of the other conferences, like you do not want Northern Illinois to win that game. Like you enjoy that Notre Dame lost, but
absolutely,
but you don't want it to be against a Northern Illinois. You want it to be against like a USC or Stanford or somebody like that. So
I mean, even at USC, like that would be a big win. But I mean, Texas State, that's coming as a Texas State fan from both of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Texas State had a huge win against UTSA. They were the favorites to win the American too, and just absolutely just steamrolled UTSA at home, which is a huge win for the program. But again, you just can't have those other group of 5s going in and getting big wins like that, because it just boosts their resume so much. And Texas State has a big opportunity this Thursday against Arizona State, who, I mean, they did really well against Mississippi State. They beat Mississippi State late Saturday night, which
I definitely did not stay up for that game.
I didn't either. It ended up being closer. It was a 7-point game, but Mississippi State scored late and made it a little closer.
Yeah, and I will say though that I mean overall, like Arizona State looks like a much improved team of
Yeah.
what they looked like the last 2 years.
Yep.
They had 359 yards rushing last night.
That's
Like
insane.
their running back Cam Scatterbo
Yeah,
had
he-
33 carries for 262 yards.
it's crazy.
He didn't score a touchdown though, which is weird. So
That is weird. But
Sam Levitt, their quarterback, scored both of their touchdowns. So
yeah.
but then passing wise, they only had 69 yards passing, and I mean I think that's so I don't know if they're like a all or nothing like in on their running game or how that kind of works, but also I know like Texas State, like McLeod, when he was at James Madison, they went 12-0 last year, and they had a great season. And then he comes over and he transfers into Texas State, and he balled out last night. He had 300 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
2 rushing touchdowns as well.
yeah, and especially against UTSA, Texas State's been favored against UTSA in the past, and then just kind of flopped and let UTSA win. I mean, I know this is the first time Texas State's beat them, which the big I-35 rivalry. You always want to take that win, so definitely big. And so I know Texas State opened up as favorites. We were talking about that, right before the pod, that they opened up as favorites, 1.5 favorites, and it's already flipped to, I think Arizona State's favored by 2 now. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think that kind of shows you though that, at least Vegas is saying like, Texas State could be legit.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em game, and there's some respect there, which is cool to see.
Well, I think, was it you telling me, or it may have been my brother? Somebody was telling me that they showed the odds, and like the highest odds to make the playoff out of like the 5th conference.
Yeah, it was me. I told you that.
Yeah, who was the top?
Yeah,
was-
so there was a graphic during the game for Texas State that the American had a 39% chance of getting a team into the playoff, and the Sun Belt had a 38% chance to get a team into the playoff. So you're looking right there. That's almost 80% chance between those 2 conferences, and UTSA was the favorite to win the American. So that just shot their chances pretty significantly. But the Sun Belt is tough just overall, with James Madison on the other end of the other side of the conference. But Texas State, if they can roll some wins together, go undefeated, and get a big win against Arizona State on Thursday, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the playoff, in my opinion, because they looked really, really good, like very, very good.
No, I agree, and like nobody else in the Sun Belt has really played all that well.
No.
Like, well, Virginia Tech beat Marshall. James Madison, they beat Gardner Webb 13-6.
That was a close. Yeah, I was keeping an eye on that.
South Alabama lost. Coastal Carolina played William and Mary. Georgia State barely beat Chattanooga. So, I mean, again, I know we talked about this before, probably not on the pod, but like the biggest game that I always have a concern with is Louisiana.
You will. No.
And it's because like Texas State, no matter how much better they are or how good they are, that Louisiana is like their kryptonite, and so I just like, so that'll be the big one, and I think it's on the road.
I think it is in Lafayette.
So that one's going to be tough for sure. So I'm hoping that, but obviously you got to win one at a time. I think we talked about it. Like if you almost have to go undefeated. You can maybe get away with one loss, and if Texas State loses this one, they could maybe get away with it, depending on how Arizona State does the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But and obviously how the rest of the conferences do as well. So, but obviously the best path is just to go 12-0, and which would be an insane jump. I still have a hard time fully buying into it and expecting that, just because, I mean, 2 years ago, Texas State went 4-8, and it was just looking absolutely horrendous. And then G.J. Kinney comes in, and all of a sudden we go 7-5, 8-5 once we win the bowl game. So,
Dude, he's not there much longer.
you think?
No chance. He's going to get plucked by someone.
don't know, man.
A bigger school is going to give him a shot, I think.
I just wonder how long you need the sample size, though. Because, like, dude, like, I don't know where he came from originally, but, like, he was only at Incarnate Word for 1 year before he came to Texas State. So,
Agreed, but
well, I think he was the OC there before he became the head coach.
yeah, but I mean, I feel like a lot of these programs are taking chances on a lot, like the younger kind of coaches.
Yeah, but
'cause
look at
they speak the language too, like
Yeah.
they speak the kids' languages, and it's like the spread offense too, right? Like having a younger mind, like they speak that language, they know what like the kids are doing and learning at a young age. I mean, when we were playing football, like I mean, we were in the freaking wishbone. We were running an offense from the 70s. But, like, kids nowadays, like, you tell them that, they're like, what is that? You know what I mean? But same goes with, like, some of these RPO concepts and things like that. Like, I mean, without NCAA football, I wouldn't know. Like, I don't speak that language, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And these younger minds, I feel like more and more of them are starting to become relevant. I mean, isn't the freaking head coach of the Vikings 39? I saw
Kevin McConnell.
I don't know who he is. I just saw
Yeah,
what was
the
the
Sunday
Sunday conversation?
conversation,
I literally saw the first part of it, and he's like, "You're 39."
Well, I mean, I think Sean McVay became the head coach for the Rams. He was like 34, 35. Like,
Yeah,
he was
it's
super young.
And the dude from Texas Tech went to Arizona.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
Oh, you're talking about Cliff Kingsbury.
Kingsbury.
Yeah.
He was super young. So I mean, what did they prove? You know what I mean? And that's
sure.
and that's kind of what I think a lot of these programs are taking chances. And I'm not saying like these big time programs, but there's a lot of Power 4. I'm going to start saying Power 4 because there's not 5.
Yeah, there's not 5. Yeah.
There's a lot of Power 4 conferences or teams and conferences that are willing to take a chance on a Kenny, because again, like in those situations, there's an easier path into the playoff. Like Notre Dame right now, them not being in a conference hurts them because there's no chance of them playing in a conference game, championship game.
Which is weird. Like I still don't understand. Like for the most part, they're playing a ACC schedule, and then they just mix other games in there. So I'm surprised that they haven't tried to do that.
For sure. Like if a mediocre program, like a small program like Texas A&M comes in and says, "Hey, can I get Kenny?" I think they do it.
Hey, dude, that was the rumor though with the UTSA coach. Though, remember
Trailer? Yeah.
Yes, Jeff Traylor. Like they that was the rumor, and the boosters were like, "You will not hire Jeff Traylor." Like,
no, I'm kidding with A&M. A lot of those big programs, man, whenever they make hires, they do just risk assessment. Like, what is like they're not there to make a splash, like risky hire. They're there to do risk assessment and say, look, these are our chances. Like we can't take that much of a risk. He might be great. Give him a few years. I mean, look what happened to Florida with Billy Napier, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's and that was the big thing with LSU. There was a lot of talks about Napier just moving an hour down the interstate to the LSU, and a lot of the AD and a lot of the boosters were like, no, we can't take that risk because there's just not a sample size. So a lot of the bigger programs are like that, but like maybe like a Duke or a North Carolina, like Mac Brown retires. I mean, I could see them going out and getting Kenny just because that's a basketball school. They could care less, I feel like, about football. So why not give this guy a shot and see?
I do wonder though, just because like Jeff Traylor, like he's had consistent success with UTSA, but
he's older, right?
And maybe I don't think he's that much older. I don't know. But maybe he's fielding calls and just not taking them because he loves like the Texas atmosphere. Is he 56 for real?
Yeah, 56. Yeah.
Oh wow, so he's an older guy. So, but so I don't know. Maybe somebody will call Kenny. I mean, I hope they don't.
Me either.
Because I mean, I would like him to be there for at least. I want him there long enough to at least create a base.
Yes.
And like typically that means you're there about 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And to at least get something, and then that means you get more quality head coaches coming in after him because
that want to coach here.
Yeah, like you don't want to have just like. Hopefully, this next guy will fix the problem. Like you want somebody who's gonna come in and keep going what you're doing. So.
I mean, look at Boise State.
Oh, for sure.
Like Peterson, all of these names, and then they're still relevant 10, 15 years
Yeah,
later.
like even after Peterson went to Washington, they still continue to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But we can only hope, man. I mean, because it's just good to be able to talk positively about Texas State finally because I know when we were in college, it was rough. Like, I mean, at the time, like our big game was playing Texas Tech. Like we wanted to beat Texas Tech, and
dude, that was competitive for a quarter.
Got absolutely demolished.
It was an awesome atmosphere though for a quarter.
Yeah, but it was like Texas Tech, and then the next year I think Navy came to town. So and then Navy, like we got demolished by Navy. So
I think one year we went to Houston and upset them.
Yeah, that was. I think that was our freshman year.
Yeah, and they were supposed to be pretty decent.
That was because that was the biggest upset in well, like according to like the betting lines.
Yeah,
they were 36-point underdogs and ended up winning that game. Yeah. So, but yeah, so it's big, man. So you take what you can get, but and on the other side with the Big Ten, UCLA didn't play this week. They They beat Hawaii 16-13. So I don't. Yeah, I'm not feeling too hot about UCLA
That's
right
crazy.
now either.
Yeah.
Because
Not good.
Hawaii has looked. I mean, Hawaii's looks like Hawaii. I mean,
Yeah.
like they've been pretty bad. Like they haven't been good since Colt Brennan took them to the Sugar Bowl back in.
Man, that guy was good. That dude was really good.
Yeah, but
and then mine is Rutgers. Again, they rolled Akron. I mean,
they
take
look-
nothing from that.
but they played somebody halfway decent last week, didn't they?
They played Howard. Yeah, if you want to say Howard.
Oh,
Yeah, Howard and Akron back to back, man. What a freaking
But
start.
hey, like just like we talked about, like Oregon struggling, like Rutgers putting up points, like
Yeah.
they're taking care of business.
I mean,
like,
that Mana guy or whatever, they're running back
Yeah.
208 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean,
Yeah, so-
you run 208 on anybody, that's pretty decent.
yeah, so I mean, they're at least taking care of business, which is what you're supposed
Yeah.
to do. So
And I mean, he was the Big Ten Conference leading rusher last year too. So
yeah,
I mean, he's going to get his. They have Virginia Tech next week, which actually no, they have a bye next week. So we're already doing buys in week 3. So
yeah, which is
here we
kind of
go.
wild, man. But
Yeah.
so I mean, and I think you'll agree. I mean, I'm not ready to sell off any of my picks just yet. But I think once you start getting to conference, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot more, of what each of those teams is going to be made of.
For sure.
Especially like your Oregon and, like the Big 12. I mean, like we talk about the Big 12, like that they're all just going to absolutely just
Yeah.
demolish, like beat each other up. So
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting in the next few weeks. Not week 3 like we talked about. Week 3 sucks.
yeah,
Um,
Week 3 is pretty rough, but we'll see. And I'm just looking at our playoff teams too. For the most part, our playoff team's been doing pretty well. Penn State struggled yesterday. Penn State should have lost yesterday too. Like,
to Bowling Green.
yeah, to Bowling Green of all teams. So
That's crazy.
struggle
man.
with that. So that one, and then in Liberty, Liberty they almost lost to New Mexico State. They
Yeah.
took them coming back at the last minute. So
Yeah.
so it's going to be interesting. And then then I have Notre Dame, which I mean, like we just talked about. I think Notre Dame's in some bad territory.
Dude, I mean, it's crazy how fast that flipped. Like last week, I talked about like they're in,
Yeah,
like because A&M was like their only real big
that's what we
test.
talked about. Yeah, the rest of them were
Like-
pretty much good.
How fast did that turn? Because now, I don't think they get in, even if they win out, unless other teams lose. Because dude, if you're 11-1 with that schedule, but a loss to Northern Illinois, I mean, I guess you would beat USC, who looked good against LSU, defensively at least. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say like that's what it's gonna take is like USC's gonna have to have like a heck of a season, and then Notre Dame like pull off. I don't know if you call it an upset. I guess it depends on what the records are at the end of the season, but like we said too, like it might not even matter at this point. At that point, like they may have 2-3 losses at that point, and then
But now that the dust settled for the LSU USC game, like LSU had chances to win that game. They should have won that game. They really should have won that game. And everybody's sitting here and talking about the defense. Man, you held Lincoln Riley offense to 20 points, 27 with 8 seconds left, whatever. But you held that offense, and that's no small feat. Like Lincoln Riley's offense, like I think the past 5 years he's averaged like 39 to 40 points a game.
Oh, for sure,
So
yeah.
so that in itself is a testament to LSU's defense improving. I'm not saying they're good. They're still not very good, but they're way better than last year.
Right.
And USC made all the plays. That one-handed grab, that grab on the sideline for their game-winning drive, like where the dude got destroyed, and there was a targeting call on it. Like they made the plays, and that's what it is. LSU didn't. They had a 3rd and 1 to ice the game, got stuffed.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference with LSU as well as they don't have Jaden Daniels because on that 3rd and 1, that defensive end crashed hard down the line. Jaden Daniels pulls that and runs for a touchdown.
Right.
And if you don't have that dynamic playmaking ability that he had last year, like that's, of course they're going to sell out for the run every single time. If you know he's not going to pull the ball
For sure.
So LSU, I mean, everything's still ahead of them, but they got some work to do for sure.
I was
And-
saying if they want to get in the playoff, they're definitely going to have to get something going. And
I mean, they should next week again. South Carolina. I think LSU are 10-point favorites, which I think that's a little high, but LSU definitely has better athletes. They should win that game. And then they play UCLA, who obviously we talked about just a second ago doesn't look very good.
Right.
They should win that. And then they'll go into Ole Miss 4-1, and Ole Miss should be 5-0.
Yeah, that'll be a big one there.
If they win that game, I mean, they're right back into the playoff conversation.
For sure.
But I mean, it just remains to be seen with LSU. They and then some of these injuries that they're having too. They just lost their defensive tackle, Jacobian Guillory, who's, I mean, he's a 5th-year guy, tore his Achilles, and I mean, they are so thin at that position, and that's why they're getting blown off the ball. Whenever
Right.
teams are just running up the gut. So we'll see. And then John Emery tore his ACL in the middle of the week, which sucks because, I mean,
When it rains, it pours.
yeah, it might be one of those years, and it happens. I'm just hopeful that it can possibly be for LSU. Garrett Nussmeier, kind of his first year, kind of like Jaden Daniels, kind of like Joe Burrow, where he gets his feet wet, and then
Oh, yeah.
the next season he kind of takes off. But we'll see.
I was gonna say you just gotta let it play out. I mean, like we talked about, you got a young quarterback coming in, learning the ropes, all that. So
Yeah.
still a lot of season ahead. So
Oh, yeah.
you never know. But a lot of good games this week in NCAA. A lot of not good games coming up in NCAA. So we'll go over kind of our 5 games once we get to that. So
Yeah, we'll do that at the end for sure. But the other football kicks off NFL.
Yeah,
you wanna
man.
Get into that.
yeah, it was a good first weekend, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just do it.
I score check. That's it. I score
Yeah,
check.
I'm just gonna lead off with my boys, dude. So
I was gonna lead off with mine.
first off, who's your boys?
Dude, I was barely in the conversation last week,
Yeah.
but I asked y'all straight up, are the Saints going to win the division?
Oh yeah, dude. The Saints look sharp.
Dude, I just saw the score.
Yeah.
Like, holy cow. But no, let's start with the boys. That's what everyone wants to hear
Well,
about.
first off, I was gonna start with the boys because Dak got his big extension.
That's crazy
That
money.
absolutely blew my mind.
Crazy money.
So I didn't want the extension. I wanted it to be a prove it year because this year Dak was going to be a free agent after this year, and the entire coaching staff is in their last year of their contract.
Wow.
So I was like I want them all to prove it. Like McCarthy needs to prove that he's going to figure it out, and Dak has to prove that he's going to figure it out. And then I see the rumors Friday that the Cowboys are trying to get an 11th hour extension, and I was like, there's no way. Like, I don't see there's any way how you can do that. And then sure enough, it comes across at like 9:00 this morning that the Cowboys signed Dak to a 4-year, $240 million extension, $231 guaranteed.
That's
So,
$60 million a year? Is that what it comes
60
out to?
million a year.
God.
So now
dog.
you have Dak that's 60 million a year, and now you're paying CD 34 million a year. So it's just absolutely stupid money. Now apparently there's a way that the way they signed Dak, it's supposed to alleviate the cap up front a little bit. So that'll let them, because the next big signing is Parsons. Like Micah Parsons has one more year on his contract. So apparently they're working on. They lined it up to where it's less of a hit up front, more of a signing bonus, and then that way they can sign some of their players. But man, that's just a heavy cap hit. But
Yeah, but from my understanding about the cap stuff, though, like every year they wiggle free and they defer money, and the accountants in the back office they make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like they can defer it to later seasons and those types of things for the cap hits and stuff. So I mean, I know a lot of people are worried about it, but I mean, didn't Kansas City do the same thing? Like with
for
Mahomes'
sure.
contract to be able to sign some players? Like there's ways around it. I feel like. So obviously it's big money. Don't get me wrong. That's crazy money, especially for somebody who's, what has he proven? Especially when it matters, not much.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. If he at least had like NFC Championship, like not even necessarily a win, but at least an appearance.
Yeah.
You can at least show like, okay, we're on the cusp.
Yeah.
And then, but like he's gone to the division round 2 or 3 times. Like, you know, like last year, just has an absolutely horrendous loss to the Packers. Like I just don't see where you can justify not only being the highest paid overall, but also the most guaranteed. They gave him 1 million more guaranteed than Deshaun Watson got, and so it's just I don't know where you're getting that he deserves to be paid that. Like CeeDee Lamb absolutely deserved to be paid what he got paid. Like the dude, like I would argue he's the best receiver in the league right now. But with Dak, like I was ready to let him walk. And because I mean, I'll say like I'm not a fan of the Texans, but I'm a fan of like what they're doing right now. Like they have a quarterback on a rookie contract. So what are we gonna do before we have to pay him major money? We're gonna build around him.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try to win over the next 5 years before we have to give him the insane contract. Like the expectation right now is that the quarterback position should command 25% of your salary cap. So you're giving a fourth of all your money that you have every year to just the quarterback position.
I mean, that's how important it really is.
Yeah, and I understand that. And again, if you deserve it, you earn it.
Yeah.
Mahomes has absolutely deserved whatever money that he wants.
Yes.
Like there's players that absolutely deserve to get whatever that they want to get paid. But when it's like Dak, like, I mean, there was, I mean, sure, you can look at other positions that deserve to take blame for everything as well, but everything that he's shown, because people want to compare him to Romo, and I'll defend Romo till the day I die because I was a diehard Cowboy fan all the way through those years. 2008, the Cowboys had the third worst defense in NFL history.
I mean,
and Romo almost led them to the playoffs. They went 8-9. Think about when the Saints had the worst defense in NFL history. They won like 5 games or 6 games that year.
Dude, I watched the NFL quite a bit back then.
Yeah.
And I was the same way with Romo. Like, if he had the offensive line that Dak had when he first came in the league, the Cowboys win a Super Bowl. Like, there's no doubt about it.
My biggest argument forever will be, so 2007 was probably the best team that Romo ever had, but Romo wasn't there yet. Like, that was one of his first years to be like a true starter.
2007.
2007.
Yeah.
He wasn't there yet. And so that's when they lost to the Giants, who ended up beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's always like one of those, like, what could have been. And then there was other years, like 2009, like they ended up losing to the Vikings, who ended up going to the NFC Championship game. So it's like there was always like that one team that they always went through. Like 2014 against the Packers, like, you know, you argue like did Dez catch it or not, but he never had like the team. They said the best team that Romo ever had was in 2015, which was when or 2017, which is when that was Dak's rookie season.
Yeah.
So that's whenever Romo broke his collarbone first game of the season or last game of the preseason. It doesn't play. Dak ends up taking over. Like Romo even said, that's the best defense that I've ever had as a player.
Absolutely.
And so you never know. You're like, we'll never know like what could have happened because that like Romo was 36 at the time, but he was absolutely playing the best football he had been playing throughout his career. So,
Yeah.
But I could go on and on about the Cowboys, but I will say their defense absolutely dominated the Browns today. So the Browns were 2.5-point favorites, and I would, if I was betting this weekend, I would have thrown all my money on the Browns because, like,
Really?
I mean, like, dude, like, I've like have no expectation for the Cowboys, but
Dude, the Browns aren't the Browns anymore. Are they decent now? Or?
The Browns had the best defense in the league last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the Browns were good, and they made the playoffs, but the Cowboys held them to one first down in the first half,
Wow.
and it was in the first drive of the game. You know, Dak didn't look great. You know, he threw for 170 yards, had a touchdown, but he did what he had to do. He controlled the ball. He didn't turn it over. I mean, he let the defense create opportunities. They had a punt return for a touchdown. Deshaun Watson looked absolutely horrible, which always helps. I do back-to-back plays. He threw balls to the players in the end zone, and they literally, not lying, went 7 yards out of the end zone. Like, not even close. So, like, that is, like, honestly one of the biggest robberies ever, that trade that the Texans made to send Deshaun Watson to the Browns.
That's
like,
crazy.
But, you know, the Cowboys look good. You know, they won 33-17. They did what they had to do. I mean, they do have question marks with their offensive line. You know, they have two rookies this year, rookie center, rookie left tackle, which that was the other thing the Browns did. Like, the Browns, if you're the Browns defensive coordinator, I don't know why you don't put Myles Garrett over that rookie offensive tackle and just demolish him all night. Like when he was over there, he gave the dude fits. Tyler Guyton, he's the left tackle. He gave him fits all night, but they kept switching him back and forth. Which whatever your strategy is, but I don't know. I'll take the win. It's 1-0, and we just roll from there, man. But I mean, just some of the upsets. I saw like the Patriots upset the Bengals. I was telling you right before the pod, like your boy Joey B. He struggled a little bit. 21 for 29, 164 yards. They only had 70 yards rushing. But I mean, I also
is their offensive line still pretty rough?
Yeah,
I
the
don't
offensive
know.
line's pretty rough. Jamar Chase sat out the entire offseason. Like he wanted a new deal. They never gave him one, so like he literally just showed up to play today. So I don't think he practiced one time. Well, I think you have to practice. So he probably showed up to practice this week. So he didn't show up before then. So
is he about to like be on his like rookie? Is his rookie deal about to end or what?
Well, yeah, because he was drafted the same year as Joey Burrow, right? Burrow, right?
Yeah.
So this would be year
2019.
5. So this is his option year.
Or 2020. I
So,
guess 2020. I guess was the.
Well, I guess not his option year, but because
I
was
don't
he
know.
a first round pick?
I believe so.
Yeah. So they would have picked up his option. But yeah, so we'll see. But the Vikings beat the Giants 28-6, which I know you don't follow very much, but Sam Darnold was the starting quarterback for the Vikings and threw for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Giants, they let Saquon Barkley walk, and then they signed Daniel Jones to a $40 million a year contract, which
40.
yeah, you want to talk about a bad contract with Dak? Like Daniel Jones has literally done nothing, and they still extended him to this crazy contract.
That is crazy.
So the Giants are horrendous. The Bears, they beat the Titans today. The Titans were up the entire game. The Bears won and they won 24-17, didn't have a single offensive touchdown.
Didn't y'all say last week? I was kind of in and out, obviously, because of the game.
Yeah,
Didn't y'all say the Titans were like probably the worst team in the league?
The Titans, no.
Oh, I thought that's what y'all said. When y'all went-
They were the worst in the AFC South for sure.
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
supposed to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But also I thought the Bears would be pretty good, but Caleb Williams went 14 for 29 for 93 yards.
on that Bronny
So-
James.
Yeah, dude. And he got his nails painted all nice. The Bears number 18. So
God, man.
So,
What a diva, dude. Like,
he really is.
that's
man.
not somebody you want to be like the face of your franchise. I'm
No, dude,
sorry.
like-
I'm sorry. Like, if I was a Bears fan, I'd be upset that.
Well, yeah. First off, I don't think he should have gone number 1. Just based, not just because of the losses last season at USC, but just because of his behavior after games.
Exactly.
He doesn't show the leader mentality. But
Like, I understand being upset after games, but if you go up in the stands and just start crying with your mom and
Yeah.
stuff, be with your teammates, man.
Exactly.
Go be with your team,
pick
dude.
people up, yeah. For
Yeah,
sure.
man. Be the leader. Of course you can get upset. You lost a big game. But dude, I don't know. That's not who I would want to lead my franchise.
No, for sure, man. But and then your Saints, like you said, the Saints, they beat. Well, the worst team in the league is absolutely the Carolina Panthers, dude.
Oh, are they?
The Carolina Panthers are horrendous. And second year guy Bryce Young out of Alabama,
Dude.
Which you want to talk about horrible number 1 overall picks? Bryce Young is a horrible number 1 overall pick.
That is crazy that he went 1 overall.
Went 13 for 30, 161 yards and 2 picks. Got sacked 4 times. They had 58 yards rushing. Just absolutely just horrible. So, I mean, but also the Saints. I mean, the Saints didn't look bad. Derek Carr, he threw for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 180 yards. Alvin Kamara, he's still solid.
I mean,
So-
I can't believe the dude's still with the Saints. I'm surprised he's been there for a while. I figured he probably would have jumped ship somewhere.
Yeah, they signed him to the big contract, a few years ago.
Oh, did they?
Michael Thomas is still suffering from whatever injury he had 8 years ago.
Like a
so.
toe injury or something?
Yes, dude,
freaking-
it's so bad,
Speaking
dude.
of divas.
Yeah, that dude, he's literally one of the wasted talents of the NFL.
Dude, there was a time, and again, whenever I was more into the NFL, I would have arguments with people in the group chat, There was a time that he was the best wideout in the league.
Oh, 100%.
Like he would literally catch everything, especially like with Drew Brees. Like he was the best receiver in the league.
For sure.
I will stand by that because that was whenever he was with D Hop. It was between him and D Hop.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, just the amount of receptions that he would have per game, and he would catch everything in like a 5-foot radius away from him. He was unbelievable. And then he stubs his toe or something.
Yeah, dude, and like he's literally not come back from that. Like, and that was like
That's crazy.
That was like 5 years ago. But
Dude,
it's like,
amputate and go, Dion that thing.
yeah, like, but I don't even know if it's just a toe or like what it is. But dude, like, it's just one thing
Just
after
infected
another.
or
Like,
something, I
yeah,
don't know.
like it. But it almost just like started like a chain effect of whatever. But
Dude, I don't even know who is on the Saints. to be
yeah, I mean,
honest.
it's not the same team of when you rooted for in 2009. I mean,
Yeah, 2009.
Jamal Williams is the other running back. Taysom Hill's still there.
Taysom Hill, BYU.
Yeah, he's like they're still like
Swiss
their
Army
running
knife,
guy.
dude.
Oh yeah, dude. Like,
God,
well, he's their goal line running back. I mean, that's his big thing.
that's
so,
crazy. He's still doing it.
yeah, he's still hanging in there. But
Because, I mean, when they drafted him, he was probably like 38.
yeah, coming out of BYU, yeah,
God.
for sure. But
That's crazy.
Jim Harbaugh, got his first win with the Chargers. Went in and beat Las Vegas.
Yep.
Justin Herbert, nothing great. Had 144 yards. Dude, you know who had a big game? I didn't even know he was still in the league. It was J.K. Dobbins.
Really?
Yeah, dude. So I was actually talking about him on Friday because
Doesn't he have, like, alopecia?
does he?
I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought he did. I don't know. Just random facts.
But I was just talking to somebody on Friday because we were talking about LaGrange High School, and no, he definitely doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
But I was like, dude, I said I was trying to remember because LaGrange is pretty good at football this year, and I was like, man, I wonder if they have another. I couldn't remember his name, and then he just happened to pop up today. They're like, yeah, J.K. Dobbins has a career year. He had 135 yards today and a touchdown. So,
Dang.
So he had a good day, and then Las Vegas is bad. Gardner Minshew is your starting quarterback, which he actually didn't do bad. He was 25 for 33 for 257 yards. They just don't have a run game.
I saw the fight.
The fight? I didn't even see that. What happened?
I don't know. It was on Barstool. They like the Raiders and Chargers started going at it in the back of the end zone, like swinging.
Oh my gosh! No, I didn't see
Yeah.
that. That's crazy.
Yeah, WWE baby.
That's wild, man. But then Texans got their big win against the Colts.
Are the Colts good?
No, they're not. Colts are not. Well, the AFC South is not good. Like,
Yeah.
well, Anthony Richardson, like he's from Florida.
Yeah,
They
for
drafted
sure.
him number 5 last year. Like,
Overall?
yeah, like he was it was like a big surprise pick, and well, he ends up winning the starting job.
So he's a rookie this year? No.
The second year.
Second, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was 2 years ago.
And
draft 2
so,
years ago,
but he got drafted last year. So they actually started off pretty good. And then it was one of the first, it was like week 4 or 5. He tore his ACL.
Yeah.
And so it knocked him out. But he was actually it was your ACL or was it shoulder? I don't remember. I know those are completely different things. But yeah, they ended up knocking him out. And so they had Gardner Minshew the rest of the season there, which catapulted him into the Raiders job. But so the Colts are one of those teams, like, they have like decent talent. I mean, they still have Jonathan Taylor as their running back, which, I mean, he had 16 carries for 48 yards today. But he was another one of those that, like, he held out and Jim Irsay caved and gave him the big contract. And I mean, it's the same thing I'll say, like, with Zeke. Like there's no way he should have deserved to get paid what he got paid. I mean, because running backs are just dime a dozen now, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many options that come out and that are available. Like, I don't see how you can continue to pay the big names like that.
And
But-
that's like
oh yeah,
that's my thing with running backs, man. Like, they just have so much, like, wear and tear. Drafting them super early, like, I feel like that's not a thing anymore, at least from what I've seen.
oh for sure, dude. Like, and I don't know what. I don't know why, like, they continue to pay him like that. Sorry, I'm plugging in my computer as we do this,
For those watching,
so we don't lose
On
our
YouTube.
video record. But yeah, man, like, I don't understand, like, why you, because
like, I feel like investing in offensive line, defensive line, comes before running
Quarterback,
back.
yeah,
Obviously,
like,
no, quarterback's
yeah.
number one. The 25% rule of the
Yeah.
cap just proves that. But offensive line, defensive line, and then secondary, I think all those, even wideout, I feel like is
Oh yeah, for sure.
like those are where the dynamism happens. Obviously, you can have a good running back who's a good pass catcher, and obviously, like picking up blitzes, like on pass protection. Like I feel like that's more important in a running back than just lining up and going between the tackles.
Well, and I would say like what should have ruined, and what kind of really did ruin the running back market. It was the year that Zeke and Todd Gurley both got their big extensions. So they both got a 6-year, $90 million contract at the same time. So, I mean, which was only, what is that, 15 mil a year or whatever, or I guess 17 mil, 18 mil, whatever it is.
I'm not good at math.
But they got their big extensions, and then they both flopped. Like, I don't think Todd Gurley like lasted like 3 years, and he wasn't even in the league anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's a risk with the running backs. But this is my biggest argument for it, or for not paying running backs and investing in offensive line. Who was the running back for the Cowboys that he was there for a few years, really good, got traded to the Eagles and was absolutely awful.
Oh, that was oh god,
dude.
I know exactly.
I think he holds the single season record for the Cowboys. Maybe didn't he break?
Yeah, he was the guy from he was from Oklahoma, DeMarco Murray.
Yeah. That's it, dude. Dude, running behind that offensive line and then going to Philly and running behind that,
yeah,
you
dude.
can tell you can plug and play almost anybody behind that Dallas offensive line those years, and I mean,
For
you
sure.
were going to have a 1,000-yard rusher easy, and then send him off to Philly and he flops.
Yeah, dude.
and that right there is why you don't pay big money for running backs. Invest in your offensive line, and that'll open up as it comes.
One, especially with even like the translation from college to pro, like you see it so often throughout the years, where like running backs are like the most obvious, like they have the hardest time translating.
Yeah.
Like the prime example I can think of is Trent Richardson.
Oh,
Trent Richardson is
God.
one of the best college running backs in history.
Yeah.
And dude, like he never had one successful year in the NFL. But he also he played for the Raiders for the most of his career, and that's when the Raiders were bad. And so I don't think there was but again, it was probably like he had zero offensive line to really go behind.
Dude, there was another guy from Arkansas, unbelievable. God, I don't know why I can't. Darren McFadden.
Yeah.
Dude, that dude should have won a Heisman Trophy at
Yeah.
Arkansas. He was that good. And then he goes into the league and just it doesn't translate.
Because again, who did he go play for? The Raiders, who are
Oh, he
absolutely
did.
horrible.
He did. You're right. But even still, you would think how dynamic he was in college. You would say, hey, just do that, and you'll be a 1,000-yard rusher.
But again, but think about it's kind of going to your point though, where you say you have the offensive line.
Yeah.
And so at Arkansas, that's their big thing was, especially at that time, was running the ball.
For sure.
Because they had him, and then the Cowboys drafted Felix Jones, who was his backup in the second round.
Yep.
Or was in the end of the first round even, I think. It was a high pick.
Yep.
Just because both of them had really good seasons, but that was Arkansas's thing, was running the ball. So
Yeah, McFadden was a monster.
yeah, I mean they were both really good. I mean that was one of the better years for the better time periods for Arkansas anyway. So.
Oh yeah, they were good that period. But yeah, that's just with running backs. You just can't. You just take a flyer on a guy, I feel like they do all right. As long as they can pass block, as long as they can catch a swing pass, a check down, running between the tackles is going to come if you have a decent line.
Well, and I would say too,
And
with the Cowboys last year. So they let Zeke go. They had Zeke and they had Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard had a better season as the backup to Zeke. They let Zeke go. They make Pollard the star running back, and he doesn't have a great year. They franchise tag him. They don't extend him. They let him walk, and then they brought Zeke back.
Oh, Zeke's back.
Yeah, he's actually scored a touchdown today.
Huh.
So and then they have Rico Dowdle. So Rico Dowdle was Pollard's backup last year. He had a great season as a backup, And so I think they kind of saw that, so they brought Zeke back. They made Zeke the starter, but really like Dowdle had like a lot of carries too, and really just kind of carried the load. So they're actually paying more for Zeke's last contract than what they paid him to come back.
Yeah,
like they owe him still like $6 million from his paid him $3 million to come back. So.
crazy.
It's wild, man. But that's the joys of the NFL.
Nutty.
But yeah, man. But just going through the Chiefs and Ravens, they played Thursday night. Chiefs came on top 27-20. Controversial call, big surprise. The NFL loves the Chiefs, so they do get a lot of favorable calls with all that.
What was it?
It was like a play. It was like one of the last plays of the game or something where it was. I don't even really remember. I wasn't watching. I was watching JV football at the time, but
Better probably.
yeah, but it was some controversial call where it ended up going for the Chiefs. It ended up like causing the Ravens to not be able to score. It ended up being like the difference at the end. So,
well, I saw on Twitter, after one of my coworkers was kind of telling me, Lamar missed 2 wide open guys in the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
like that. Like there were opportunities to tie the game at least from what I saw.
yeah, I mean Lamar Jackson again. He's a guy that he's a dynamic runner for sure, but he's not a great passing quarterback, and he's missed throws all through his career. But,
Yeah, well, yeah.
and then the Eagles and Packers, they played the first ever game in Brazil on Friday night. There was actually a lot of complaints about the field conditions. Like I actually was reading where J.J. Watt, he said that soccer fields are not meant for football players.
Nope.
So like soccer fields are meant for you to be like quick and change direction and like a lot of like just quick movements and stuff, not for like these big, huge 300-pound linemen like in
Pushing.
the trenches, like driving each other and receivers, doing their different movements. Like it's not the same. It doesn't translate, and so that was the cause for a lot of the problems. Which I never really thought about that. I mean, I know like the Jaguars play their game every year in Wembley, in London, and I've never heard any complaints about it. But hearing about that, I mean, it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And I saw kind of Jordan Love was the recipient of that a little bit. I don't know. I saw on Twitter kind of the video of it, and it looked like it was more of a contact injury. His foot was just planted, but again, the plant in the ground, like that's what we were talking about. But I mean, soccer players make big cuts too sometimes as well.
For
So
sure.
I think that was just one of those freak accidents that kind of got blown up. But yeah. I know soccer players say the same thing when they play on turf. Like they don't like that. The turf is just not built for soccer, and way more soccer injuries happen because of exactly what we said. A lot of fast-paced cutting,
Right.
those types of things, where you're not digging into the ground and having to have a lot of traction on your cleats. Which in football, I mean, that's what you do, especially in the trenches.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of times when like soccer, like I know when we went and watched U.S. and Mexico that one year. They put grass in the Alamo Dome, and I know
awful.
Mexico complained about it, which I'm sure both sides complained about it, just because like the Alamo Dome is covered, so like it's not getting sunlight, so it's just like dead grass pretty much and sand. Like it was bad.
And I'm pretty positive that in Messi's contract with Inter Miami, like he doesn't play on turf fields. Like if a team in the MLS has a turf like ground,
like he's not going to play.
He doesn't play.
Yeah. And it makes sense, especially at his age. Like the last thing
Yeah.
he wants to do is go out because of a catastrophic injury or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can see why he'd want to do that. But
Yeah.
but just rolling through real quick, like Jaden Daniels with the Commanders. I told you before the season, like he has 0 targets. So he did have his first rushing touchdown of the season.
LSU tweeted that.
So yeah, all things considered, 17 for 24, 184 yards. Again, nobody to throw to. You know who his top receiver is? Is Austin Eckler, who's
he's
a
still
running
playing.
back. Yeah, his top 3 targets were Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, so both running backs, and Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz is
Zach
still playing
Ertz is
too.
like almost 40 years old.
That guy was playing
Yeah, like
15 years ago.
yeah. So
He was with the Eagles, wasn't he?
yes, he was with the Eagles forever, and then
Yeah,
they
so
traded him to
was I.
Arizona last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like he has nobody to throw to.
That's crazy.
Baker Mayfield had a great day. He almost threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
Chris Godwin's still doing well. Mike Evans still balling out a little bit. He had a big touchdown today. So Bo Nix for the Broncos, they lost to the Seahawks today. Bo Nix looked horrible. He's 26 for 42, 138 yards and 2 picks.
26 for 42.
Yeah, for 138 yards.
That's almost 50%. That's just over 50% completion percentage.
It's not good.
I guess they're not doing any check downs.
No, and he had 2 picks.
God.
So nothing like what they saw in the preseason.
Yeah.
So his first 2 preseason games, he had almost as many yards as that. And so they made him the starter. He didn't play in the last one, and now he's horrible.
God.
So, so it's pretty rough, man. But Dolphins beat the Jaguars. The Dolphins are going to be good this year.
Are they?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of talent, dude.
Yeah.
Like, they have Jalen Waddle. They have Tyreek Hill. Tua's really improved a lot. They have Devon A-Chain out of A&M. Like, he's a solid running back. So, yeah, not that we want to give too many compliments about them. But no, so a lot of games going on. So, like, right now we're watching the Lions and Rams kind of back and forth. I know we talked about the Lions possibly being a favorite this year, but the Rams are beating them right now. So, and then Aaron Rodgers hopefully make it more than 4 plays this year. They play the 49ers tomorrow night. So we'll kind of see what happens with that, man. But that's the NFL. I mean, the biggest thing. I mean, we'll just see how it goes. I mean, like you did say. I mean, like with the NFL, like you're going to get good games every week. Like you're going to have your bad games and your blowouts, but you're always going to have like your good big time matchups even.
I mean, every week.
Because in the NFL, too, like, just because they are the top players in the world, like, you're going to have bad teams beat good teams. Whereas, you're not necessarily going to have that nearly as often in college football.
That, and you also have to think it's 30 teams versus 130 teams. Yeah, so there's just you're playing. There's a smaller group to get everybody in to play each other with. You know what I mean? So I mean, you're gonna have big matchups every week just because that's how the deck's shuffled. Oh
yeah, for sure.
So and even season by season, when some of these teams who are traditionally really good, like they'll play, and I mean they'll play good teams who are traditionally bad. That happens, but yeah, there's always going to be good matchups in the NFL. That's just how it rolls.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just hoping that this year that they have. I mean, I know Cameron and I last week we kind of picked our teams to play, and you just kind of hope that there's also just times where, or like this year will be a year where like it'll be new teams in there. Not that I mean, obviously I hope the Cowboys can be one of those, but if we're being realistic, I mean, we know how that's going to go. So
yeah,
I mean, it's just one of those things, but yeah, man. So that's our football update of the week. We'll go over baseball a little more next week as it gets closer to we don't want to drag these on too long. But
same thing with soccer. I mean, there's an international break right now, so just pointless friendlies, kind of like pointless FCS schools playing big time schools.
I did see the U.S. lost to Canada yesterday. But was that our A team or was it?
It was a mixed bag. There were some of them, and some of them didn't travel or suit up. So again, these are pointless friendlies. I don't know the reasoning for it, especially when the Premier League and a lot of these European seasons are 3 games in, and they already go straight into an international break. It's crazy. You can't even get into a rhythm, and. Yeah, but it's back next week, so that's definitely a good thing. Getting back to watching soccer and then straight into football. So
there you go, man.
But yeah, you wanna go into our 5 games?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So last week, nobody went undefeated again. So we have yet to have a perfect weekend,
which is good.
I agree. I think I was 4-1 the first week. I think I was 4-1 this week. I was very close, but
well, dude,
Kentucky.
Oh yeah, Kentucky was one.
The Kentucky game is what ended me.
I thought I was going to be the only one to pick Arkansas. I thought most people would pick Oklahoma State, but I think actually the majority of people picked Arkansas, and so
I had Oklahoma State, but and then I had the Syracuse pick too.
Yeah, which you were one of the few who got that one. So
yeah. But again, we go again next week, so we want all of you guys to participate with us. Again, reach out on Facebook. We'll post it up on Facebook, Twitter, or just text us. And we've gotten a lot of texts in too. to get those picks in. So the first game we'll start with is going to be on Friday night this week. We'll go Arizona at Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Kansas State for sure. I think they've looked pretty sharp the first 2 weeks. I don't think they really played anybody, but I think they've looked good. And then Arizona, just back-to-back weeks, they've struggled. Like they struggled against North Arizona yesterday. So I know it's like 17 versus 20, but I think that for sure. I think, and it's at Kansas State.
Yeah, it's in Manhattan.
So I would definitely pick them for that one.
The only thing I will say is, I mean, Kansas State, they came out of New Orleans with the win against Tulane. That was a close game. They had to come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tulane's a good team. Don't get me wrong, but Kansas State could be looking at 1-1 if it wasn't for that comeback.
Yeah.
But
which is another game that we want Tulane to lose that one. So that was
yes,
good,
yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna go K-State as well. It's in the Little Apple. I think they bounced back after that scare against Tulane, so I'm going to roll with you and go Kansas State. Next game we have where College Game Day is going for some crazy reason.
And it's still an 11 a.m. game.
Oh, yeah, it's like nuts. So they're going to literally, Corso's going to put whatever headgear he wants on and then kick off.
McAfee's going to pound as many beers as he can in 3 hours.
God, yeah. But it's LSU, South Carolina. It is in Columbia. And so, who you picking?
Yeah, I mean, I got LSU. I mean, I think LSU. I mean, I think they're gonna figure things out. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna win.
I mean, might be a little bit of a homer pick. I'm going LSU too. I am concerned about the defensive line, and how they're gonna get gashed if they can't kind of maintain that line of scrimmage. But I think offensively they have too much firepower with Kyron Lacey and Nussmeier. I mean, he threw for 6 touchdowns against Nichols, and he was just dotting it up again. So yeah, I'm going to go LSU to get the win on the road. I think it opened up as a 10-point favorites for LSU, road favorites. So
yeah, no, I'd say just as like you're talking about the run game, but I mean they only had 86 yards rushing against Kentucky.
I mean, dude, we gave up like 170 to Nichols.
Dude, I'm wondering what happened in that.
I mean,
I didn't watch the Kentucky game, but dude, they only had 250 yards of offense. Like,
yeah, it was not a good game. I think Kentucky went up super. I mean, South Carolina went up super early in the second half. It was just just a cruising kind of thing. Next game. Florida State looking for their very first win, which is crazy.
Bigger than what we thought.
Yeah, it's crazy. Against Memphis, who a lot of people also picked to make the college football playoff, so some implications for that as well. So if Memphis can go into Tallahassee and get a win, that'd be a good look for them. But what do you think? Florida State getting their first win?
No, I'm going to pick Memphis, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's going to be a popular pick.
Memphis has looked pretty sharp, dude. Like, I mean, Troy's supposed to be one of the better teams in the Sun Belt, and they beat Troy 38-17. So they look good. And honestly, I think I actually talked about them in the podcast.
You did.
About how they're probably one of the top picked teams to make the playoff this year.
Yeah.
So I think that they're solid, and I think right now I think Florida State's on a very dangerous path right now to where they don't really have an identity, and there's a lot of struggles right now, and I think that it's one of those cultures where if you let it get out of hand too fast, like you can be in big trouble. But I think Memphis is going to go in and take care of business. So
I mean. It's tough for me, and you mentioned that too with Florida State walking down a dangerous path. Man, they're already losing recruits.
Yeah.
Like they're losing recruits like flies with this. So there's implications with that as well. I think Florida State's a 5.5 point favorite at home currently. This is going to be a tough one. Obviously, Florida State has more talent. But man, that's a train wreck right now. This is tough. I think I'm going to roll with Florida State. I think Florida State finally figures it out and gets their first win of the season. DJU looks awful. At some point, he has to figure it out, right? Like at some point. So I'm gonna say this week they finally figure it out at 11 a.m. on Saturday, but. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Florida State.
It's going to be a much better game than what people originally thought it was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. You got it. Next one.
Next one.
What we got?
Oregon and Oregon State, man. That's going to be, again, it's going to be a much more interesting game than what we probably thought it was going to be. But who you got on that one?
Oh gosh, man. For some reason, I mean, it is in Corvallis. That's a rivalry game, obviously. I think Oregon sneaks it out. They just have more talent. Oregon has more talent than Oregon State. Obviously, Boise State and I don't even know who they played the first week, man. Who'd they play? It was like
Who's that?
Oregon. Was it Kennesaw State or
They
something?
played Idaho.
It was Idaho.
Yeah.
That's right.
Beat them 26-16.
I know. I think Oregon figures it out. Again, I'm rolling with Oregon. But I think it's a pick 'em.
I think Oregon's 14-point favorites, which, I mean, I guess it shouldn't surprise me because they're not playing well. But, I mean, they're still like the dominant team, or they're the superior team, I should say. But, I mean, Oregon State, like, they beat San Diego State 21-0. They beat Idaho State 38-15. So one was playing Idaho, one was playing Idaho State.
So awful.
But Oregon State beat Idaho State worse than Oregon beat Idaho. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think
It's tough.
I think.
Yeah.
I think Oregon has to win this one, dude. Like I think at the end of the day, I think that they're just gonna have too much. I think it's gonna mean a little bit more this week because it is a rivalry game, and Dylan Gabriel's got to show that like he's the Heisman favorite he was picked to be. So, I mean, I think at a certain point you have to prove it somewhere, and I think this will be it. So I think Oregon will end up winning it.
Yeah.
So, but I think it will be. I don't know if it'll even be a 14-point game. I think it'll be close. So.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a close game too.
And then what I think could end up being our game of the week is Texas A&M at Florida. So what you thinking?
Two very mediocre programs.
Very mediocre.
It's at Florida. Man, if Billy loses this, I think he's gone. Dude, like, I don't know how he stays. I mean, the DJ Lagway played against whoever they played this week, and he looked really good. He's a 5-star guy coming in. He's a quarterback for Florida.
And Samford.
Samford,
Big game.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think A&M's defense is just too good. Again, we don't really know because Notre Dame's offense is so bad. But I think overall A&M has more talent, and defensively they'll be able to make things happen. I'm going to go with the Aggies, as much as I hate to say it. I know this is for not having a good slate. These are tough picks.
I got to break away from you once. I'm gonna say Florida wins it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pick Florida, and I don't know. I just think it's gonna be tough. I mean, I think A&M's gonna have problems figuring out. I mean, like Florida's gonna get up for like I think the Swamp's gonna get packed. I mean, I think because they kind of see like this might be one of their last opportunities to win. Because the rest of their slate going after this is about to get absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And I think Billy Napier kind of understands that too. And so I think he's going to throw absolutely everything at A&M. And so I think that they're going to find a way to win in the Swamp and take the Aggies down. So
Yeah. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like seeing A&M.
I think it will be a good game. I mean, Lagway throwing for 456. I mean, like,
Dude, he's a dude.
even if it is against Samford, I mean, that's still like unbelievable.
That's hard to do against air.
You know what Connor Wegman threw for?
I don't. It was
125.
dude.
But they also ran for 333 yards. So
I mean, it was.
I think he only threw the ball 14 times.
it was McNeese. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was Samford. So
I mean, at that point, you just got to get him some completions.
yeah.
Like
So
Wegman,
kind of just figure some stuff out. But I think based on like, I mean, I know Notre Dame's defense is better than Miami's. I mean, at least on paper. But like Wegman, like he just had so many unforced errors against Notre Dame that I just don't know how good he's not as good as what they hyped him up to be.
dude. whoever's the PR person out of Aggie Land hyping him up that high before the season started with his Vegas odds, with the Heisman odds, all that stuff, dude, that's crazy to me.
For sure.
They fooled everyone.
Yeah, they did.
That's crazy.
But like you said, it was the sample size is where they got you.
Yeah.
They talked about who the sample size was, and then you find out it's against the little guys. So
yeah.
But
I think that's gonna be a close game too.
Yeah, man. But that's our 5. So
yeah.
It's a good episode, dude. Like, a lot of football. A lot of football.
A lot of football, man.
So.
I love it. I love it.
A lot of stuff that we really don't have time to cover. We could be here for 3 hours a week, but
easily.
I think I'd get tired of listening to us at a certain point. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man. So that I think that's an episode there. So
yeah. Hopefully next week we have better matchups in week 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think all things considered too. I mean, like you said, I mean they're not highly anticipated games, but they are going to be competitive at least. So
yeah,
should be a good one. But yeah, that'll wrap it up. So we appreciate everybody listening again. Follow us on all our social media at Face Value on Facebook page. We have a lot of followers on there. Just continue to listen, share, look for different posts about like the picks and everything like that. Continue to send in your picks. We try to get those out as quickly as we can, so you have time to get them in. The first game's on Friday, so just make sure you're mindful of that. And then just continue to just follow us on TikTok, follow us on Instagram, just everywhere. Like I said, we just try to find those snippets, just send stuff out, just kind of get a little more exposure. Just we're just having fun with it, so try to get people to find us somehow. So we appreciate everybody coming on, and until next week, it's been fun.
See ya.